lineup tonight. Several good topics to discuss. I'm NefariousGains. We have the Melted Cookie, Cousin Carl, DELTACLASSFIRE, Killer Bird 23. And last podcast we did introductions of everybody that was available during that podcast, and as the podcasters become available, we'll go ahead and get those interviews in as we can. And so without further ado, we'll go ahead and start out with Killer Bird.
Hi, Killer Bird. I got my nickname through high school, but started basically age 5, working on my grandpa's farm. Took care of cattle, chickens, pigs. Did the whole haying, milking, everything. And I got a little older and got into the video games. And first one, it was a regular Nintendo. And moved up from there. Just decided to love love video games in general. And when Farm Simulator came out, I got that. It was 2009 when that came out. Played every single Farm Simulator since. I still own every single one of them. And it's a big world to get into, and I mean it's a lot of fun. That's why I love playing video games. It's like takes you to a whole nother world.
Now, Killer Bird, you've been streaming for a little while now. Can you tell us about your experience with that?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about streaming when I first started viewing Nefarious here. I mean, I watch Grateful all the time, and I just didn't have the right setup on the computer. And watching, Neff do his little thing he was doing, I decided to talk to him a little bit on about fully going streaming, and he helped me out a lot with what I need to do and stuff like that. So what I did is one day I just decided to sit there and I got everything needed, and I downloaded all the software, talked to Neff a little bit more, and I fired up the game one day and worked some kinks out. DeltaClass actually helped me. And then next thing I know, I could stream perfectly fine, and I've been trying it ever since I can, but I'm a volunteer fireman, so I mean, I'll be sitting down 1 minute, next minute, phone goes off, and out the door I go. I got to go either help an old lady up off the ground or go save a bunch of people in a burning building.
Real American hero.
I can.
All right, good deal. Good deal, Killer Bird. And a DeltaClassFIRE.
Well, I'm DeltaClassFIRE. I got my streaming name from one day I was talking to Nefarious, and we were kind of just throwing around names, and he said DeltaClassFIRE sounds pretty kick-ass, and so it just kind of stuck, and I went with it. As for my agricultural background, I didn't grow up on a farm or anything like that. My uncle had one. Still does. He's a big farmer here in Nebraska, where I'm from, and farms in 3 different states. And we go out and help him out every once in a while. And I work for a farmers cooperative, which is an agricultural business, and we do a lot of work with farmers, whether it be from grain to fertilizing, and let's see what other ones. Can't think about it. We do tires. We just do everything that that would happen on a farm. Sell fertilizer, sell seed, do custom fertilizing. And right now we have been working down in Kansas to do some fertilizing down there, and working throughout southern Nebraska, and we just keep running, and hopefully the weather holds out for a little while longer before winter. And as for my streaming background, I just got started on PC not too long ago. I was on console and played Farm Sim 15 on console for a little while, and was into a lot of the first-person shooter games. Was the big thing I was into, for like Call of Duty, Battlefield, all of those. I would like to get back into those at some point. But right now, I'm just kind of in Farming Simulator and started playing it and loved every minute of it. So
Awesome. Good deal. And yeah, I discovered DELTACLASSFIRE volunteering on our farm, man, and it was like he was 3 steps ahead of everything that I was thinking about doing, and it's surprising me. And honestly, Killer Bird was the same way, and really got my attention. So you guys have really knocked it out of the park in my book. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the console side of things with Melted Cookie. He's got some interesting ideas about the currency and if you're playing Farming Simulator and you're not just playing on your own farm, going to someone else's server or their own save game, you're dedicating a certain amount of your own time. Yet at the end of the day, when you go back to your farm, you haven't exactly had a whole lot of progress. What do you have really to show for your time except for the fact that you did interact with somebody else? The farm that you guys interacted on, that's where all the progress took place. But Cookie, you've got some interesting ideas on how to make that a little more copacetic among all parties.
Yes, thank you, Neff. I hate to see somebody that's new to the game, has the basic, vanilla, map and have nothing on their farm and just go straight to multiplayer. Hey, that's fine and dandy, but like you said, at the end of the day, you don't have anything to show for it. So I think it would be cool if Giants incorporated some type of money transfer system. For example, if they come onto my farm and we're doing logging or something or silage and making a lot of money, I feel that if at the end of the day Bob decides to get off, then I think Bob should get a certain percentage cut of what he made to take back to his own world, whether it's to buy equipment, buy more plots, basically do whatever he wants with it. Also, I think it would be cool, in the same concept to say, okay, if Bob's playing with Jim and Jim had to leave, well, now Jim can take his cut from Bob's server and go back to his own, and it keeps the ball rolling.
Cookie, I was just curious. You're talking about everybody, making a little money to take back to their farms and so forth. And also another thought is people keep in mind about the built-in bank that's already with the game and utilizing the loan aspect. I've been around different players who would say, oh, guys, we just got to go harvest another field. I need like another 50,000. If I could just get 50,000. And I'm like, why don't you just borrow it from the bank and then we'll work and pay it off later? I think sometimes people forget that the bank is there. In the form that it is currently. They tend to forget about it. But another thought to add on to that just quickly is I've been in circles on PC where we've utilized the ability to rent equipment, and I would love to see that for console so that the host of the farm wanted to, he could go to the store and say, you know what, I can't afford to buy this harvester, I can't afford to buy this tractor, but we need it. We need to be able to pull these mountains and get this sower machine up and down this hill, and we could rent the equipment and be able to rent it for a day or 2 days, but just rent it for as long as you need to, and stay within your budget. How do you feel about that?
I would feel strongly with it because it goes back to the whole money transfer thing. Okay, so now if Bob went back to his farm and he didn't want to take out from the bank, or he already took out from the bank and he still doesn't have that right equipment to keep rolling like we did in another server or my own server, well, now he can go and rent it. He doesn't exactly have to buy it. He can try it out essentially. Okay, if he doesn't like logging, he doesn't have to buy a Scorpion King. if he doesn't like sugar beets, he doesn't have to buy the sugar beet harvester. It's there's endless possibilities you could do with it.
Cool.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And well, Killer Bird, how do you feel about all that?
I think it'll actually be pretty great if you were able to do. I mean, look at our server we play on now. We play on Pleasant Valley 2.2. I mean, there's 7 different farms, which means that well, right now my server's only 14 people that could play on it. Well, that's 14 people that could be running different farms, but all the money in the game goes into one account. So then when somebody wants to buy something, say a new tractor, they don't know how much money they have. So if they were able, each farm, red, blue, white, yellow, were able to, go to the store, grain, anywhere, sell, keep that money themselves, I think it'll take the game from, one step and just blow it right out of proportion.
I agree.
There's so much work that needs to be done on them that, I mean, it's hard to manage 100 and some fields, just a couple of people just running it. So
Definitely.
when we get in there with 14 people, I mean, it could just go anywhere.
Right, and there's a fellow by the name of Dutch Life Gaming that has got an idea of, I don't know if it was based around DejaNet's original concept, the way that he did delineate the different farms where you do have these different colored borders, but Dutch Life Gaming has proposed to do a role play where you have a server that is dedicated to a certain series of whitelisted players that they come on, and every farm is dependent on the other one. And this farm does this particular type of planting and commodity because you have your factories. The Pepsi is over here, the Grey Goose vodka is over here, and if it creates an economy. Would you guys be interested in participating in something like that?
I would.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, definitely would.
Cool. Right on. Now, Delta, how do you feel about the whole banking thing?
I think it does make sense to go on to somebody else's server and to be able to get paid for what work you did. I know there's been issues in the past with other games that somebody says, hey, I'm going to pay you, but then they don't. But you could set it up where it's just an hourly rate of, say, $800 an hour or $1,000 an hour. So if you put in 10 hours, you get 10 grand. And it could be more or less, depending on if they're helpful or not. And then the rental aspect, that's also a great idea because you don't always know if a piece of equipment's going to work out when you buy it. And if you go buy a tractor for $500,000 and sell it for half that price, then you may not be able to afford the tractor that you actually need.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yes, sir? I want to branch off again on the whole money sharing thing. For example, we play on different levels of difficulty. Okay, easy, medium, hard. If you play on hard, it's hard. You get less money for the crops that you sell. So I think it would really play a perspective in that if say Bob's doing a lot of hard work on hard and he's only making half the money he would in easy, I think it definitely entitles him to some kind of cut for working that difficulty of level. Now, of course, you can sit here and say, well, why did he play on hard? Well, that's a whole different book that we're not going to go into.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that would be interesting. I think Carl brought up the bank. If in fact the bank was set up to where, and I don't know if this would work in PC so much because you do have so much modding, but with console at least, where there's a lot more of a structure, where the banking system was kind of a cross platform economy. That basically you had an ATM card, you went over to somebody else's server, you basically took your ATM card over there and plugged it into the bank on their server, you put in the time, and depending, like you said, Cookie, with the difficulty rating, the amount of time and the productivity that you generated on that server basically deposited directly onto your ATM. What does that sound like to you guys?
Right, and it wouldn't even be a matter of fact of you transferring money. You know, that's a good idea. The whole ATM card. Okay, so we saw that you know, for example, if I joined your server, okay, I was logged into the Giants, you know, server, and it said, okay, hey, Cookie did this amount. You know, how much do you want to give Cookie? You know, okay, you give me 100,000, you give me 10,000. It goes directly to my server's bank, and we're all squared away.
Okay, cool. KB, I think you've got a doppelganger.
I think so too. I don't know how to get it off there.
Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and that's an interesting bit of food for thought. Moving on to our next topic. You know, we were streaming in my channel last night, and we were in the process of plowing fields. KB and myself were plowing in Pleasant Valley 2.2 in the northeastern portion of the map, where you've got a really nice flat area, and if you buy up all those fields, the road system that's between them, all you simply have to do is plow those fields, and effectively you generate a massive field. And so we were doing that, and I was thinking, you know, we're going to need to fertilize this, and it dawned on me, what's the most important aspect? I mean, there's several important aspects of growing crops, but one of the most important aspects in California has been dealing with a drought. Okay, and there's a big controversy on them growing almonds, and you know that it takes so much liters of water in order to generate one almond. You know, but the fact that irrigation is such a huge aspect of farming. Yet it is not addressed directly in the game in the spirit of a true simulation. I'm a little curious about that, and there's a variety of different forms of irrigation out there. Some of you guys might be able to chime in here. I know that there's ditch systems where you open up a floodgate basically and irrigate different ditches that you have set up in your fields. You have, I believe, a pivot-based irrigation system that has the wheels and the pipe along those wheels, and that whole thing goes across the field and irrigates. Guys, do you have any input on irrigation?
I think it would be a different aspect of the game. I think it would really change it, because now if you took that irrigation system and you said, okay, hey, I only filled that pipe with 50% of water. Okay, now how is that going to affect your crop? Are you going to get more or are you going to get less? Obviously, you're going to get less because you didn't water it. You're not going to get as good as a yield. So now that changes the whole aspect of the game of now you're always going to, you know, trying to be on top of your irrigation system and make sure it's all functioning. And you know, you could even throw into, like, what if it breaks down? Like there should be a repair aspect of it. You know, hey, your wheel busted, it's not moving. Well, now you have to go, you know, and that opens a whole new variety of the game as well.
Definitely. Anybody else?
And you know, we were talking the other day about the new DLC coming out in the spring, and Homer says that their products are actually designed on their irrigation products to be more efficient than leading brands, that they can get more coverage with X amount of chemicals compared to some other companies' sprayer. So I'm kind of curious to see if that bleeds over into the gameplay when we go to try that new DLC out in the spring of 2016.
Awesome, Carl. Yeah, you know, and you make a good point. You talk about chemicals. You know, we do have fertilization methods in game. Just with the vanilla variety of game, the stock version, you have, I believe, slurry, you have manure, and you have chemical fertilizer. But as far as my experience shows, as long as you get one of the three down, the level of crop yield increase, you know, the statistic modifier that the fertilizer gives you in increased yield is no different. It really doesn't matter which one that you use. And I don't know if you guys have tried to use slurry, but I mean, that's a pain in the butt. So I don't know that it's necessarily it's very helpful that you have slurry in there at all. I mean, the slurry on our maps goes to waste. Just because the tools that you have to spread it are very slow, very narrow, and I would, I mean, I would recommend that there be a stat modifier for each one of those, and that it increase respectively to the difficulty of spreading that particular fertilization. Like, for example, the easiest one is the chemical. All right, and it's I would say maybe 15% additional crop yield for that. The next hardest would be maybe the manure, and we'll say 25% additional yield for that. And then the hardest is slurry, and give a whopping 50% yield modification. Any thoughts on all that?
I would personally go with slurry and manure last, because you don't always know that you're going to go with cows. I think that's why it's in a vanilla game, because if you don't have any cows, you're obviously not going to get any manure. But if you do silage, you'll get slurry. So there's two different aspects of yield. I'm not exactly sure on the percentage of yield in console that you get if you use slurry over fertilizer. But that's why they give you so many options in console, is because, like I said, if you want to stick with a pull behind fertilizer, or if you want to take the drivable sprayer, those are your two options. Or you can go do animal husbandry and get manure, or you could go with silage and you could get slurry.
Any other thoughts?
Well, when you say that the slurry and manure is a pain in the butt and goes to waste, no pun intended, right?
Right. Yeah, you got it. You got it. Well, I will interject. I'll end with this. There is, and I mean, this doesn't qualify for the vanilla game, but in the modified side for PC, there is a mod called Soil Mod, and it is just very, very complicated. And it deals with herbicides and different kinds of fertilizer. And if you don't put the right kind of fertilizer on the field, you're going to have you could very well destroy your crops. But I don't really know enough about that. I don't think anybody here really does about the soil mod. We are going to go ahead and move on to our last topic. Killerbird had a suggestion as far as stock variety maps versus you being able to choose your home basically in the farm.
Yeah, I was thinking about, I mean, with PC, of course, you got all the mods, all the different maps that come out. But when you go to download a map, there's always something about the map you don't like, personally yourself. So what I was thinking is, if Giants could come out with it being, not a DCL or anything, just basically free, you get the map and you make it the way you want to make it. Say you don't want a hill here, you could level the hill, make it a larger field, or, put a, cell point up on top, so you really got to drive up the hill, or, run your ditches. You could have more bridges in it. I mean, that's what I was thinking. Hopefully, probably not though, that Giants would be able to do. But then you run into the problem of the triggers working proper, and all the stuff it takes to make everything work in the map. I don't know if they'll be able to teach you how to do it or what, but that's what I was thinking.
Any other thoughts on that, guys?
One thing I thought of earlier, as you were talking there, is it would be interesting, to be able to start out with a blank field and literally build from the ground up. And as a simulator, I personally would like to have the option of having just a rough forest, and it's like, I just bought this land, it's mine, and now I'm gonna take the trees down one at a time. I'm gonna grind the stumps and make my own roads and put my fences in, and I would love to be able to just, as a simulator player, I would just love to be able to micromanage pretty much every acre of that entire thing.
Right. I think that with vanilla, it would be entirely possible with placeables as far as your buildings, and I think that you know, the way the modding community you know, layers their maps and things, there could be large earth-moving vehicles and machines that could come in, and you could if there was a hill that you didn't like, you could actually, you know, take it down as it happens in real life. But where in vanilla you could actually you know, come in there and create a brand new map from whatever is stock. What do you guys think of that?
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Right on. Yeah. So that's pretty much what we have for you guys today. I want to thank everybody for participating in today's podcast. Melted Cookie, Cousin Carl, DELTACLASSFIRE, Killerbird 23, and I'm NefariousGains. Thank you very much. Tune in again real soon. We might have some pretty big heavyweights in the farm simming community. We won't really tell you about that right now, but watch for the next podcast. I think it's going to be a one that you won't want to miss. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.